welcome to the Bible in Plain Sight. My name is Carol Evans, and I am so excited to bring you our final adoption story tonight with my good friend, Tammy Cooper. Tammy and I met when, really, the last couple of years. Her daughter was actually in one of my husband's high school classes. And it was pretty interesting because when we started going to church together, they knew David, but I didn't really get to know them yet. Here she is. She has joined. Okay, let's see here.
You got me,
Hello.
friend?
I do. I've got you.
Out here in the sticks, I was thinking, oh, is it going to work?
I know, but it's working.
Working,
It's working.
yes.
Okay, it's working. So Tammy and I both live out in the country, which is a wonderful, simple life,
Yes,
and we love it
yes,
that way.
yes,
But I was just telling everybody how we got to know each
yes.
other. So, um, I want to hear your thoughts on when you first heard about my husband when Christian was in school.
They love him. She loves him. D- Different, but great. Absolutely great.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, so she had him in what grade?
I'm not sure what grade it would have been. It would have been, let's see, it would have had to have been, uh, let's see,
Was it Latin or science that Christian had David?
maybe Latin. It may have been
Okay.
Latin. So it
Yeah,
would have been maybe 11th or 12th. I mean, it was
I
on up
gotcha.
there.
Yeah,
So, but
yeah.
yes, she loved him.
11th, she just
11th,
commented
yes.
11th grade. Yes. Hi, Christian.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah.
Latin.
She's
Yeah,
been
bless your
threatened. She's
heart.
been threatening to
Yeah.
slam in and make and I'm like, oh no, I don't need your help.
Oh, you like Carol Moore? Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Christian. That's awesome. Okay, well, when we went to an event called Fresh Grounded Faith a few weeks ago, a couple
Yes.
months ago, and we were talking more about adoption. And I did not realize that you have siblings that
Yes.
are adopted. And I think a lot of people can be hesitant to adopt because they wonder what that relationship's going to be like with their
Mm-hmm.
siblings, and will I love these children more than these children, and will everything work? And so I would just love to hear your perspective of how old were you and how was that growing up with having siblings that were adopted. So I just kind of love to hear your story a little
Actually,
bit.
I was 10. I was 10 when it
Mm-hmm.
happened. We got the call. My mom and dad had been trying to adopt since I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
and they were trying to adopt locally, and it was not working out. No fault of their own. They just were
Yeah.
not getting the help that they needed from their caseworker. And come
Mm-hmm.
to find out, she was not helping them like she needed to be helping them. So they decided I think they had connections with some people that were looking into foreign adoption, and
Mm-hmm.
that was in Brazil. So they looked into that, and they got the call actually on my 10th birthday. But they had been trying to adopt for
Mm-hmm.
years. It was on my
Yeah.
10th birthday they got the call, and they actually asked them, said, we have two babies, gave them the
Mm-hmm.
choice. And the choice was, we have a boy or a girl. They gave them the choice, which do you want? And my mom, I
Oh, wow.
remember as plain as day, my mom turning around to my dad saying, they have two. And my dad just, like it was no big deal, turning around to her and saying, we'll take them both.
Oh, oh
Yeah,
wow.
and so they started
Mm-hmm.
making plans, and they started making plans to go to Brazil to get them. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
immediately, because they got
Yeah.
them when they got them, they were a week and 2 weeks old.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
What?
Tammy, that's so
Yeah,
tiny. Mm,
one was from Rio and one was from
mm-hmm,
Fortaleza, I believe. And
mm-hmm. Okay.
my dad stayed a week and then came back, and then my
Mm-hmm,
mom stayed 2 weeks and then came home with the babies because
mm-hmm.
of the paperwork and the things. But
Yeah.
dad,
So she traveled from Brazil with two
mm-hmm,
babies.
she did, and she actually traveled with another
Wow.
lady that was there, and she got a
Okay.
baby also. And she's ended up
Oh,
being my
wow.
mom's best friend to this day.
Oh.
To this day, she is my mom's best friend. She lives
Mm,
in Florida and she travels
mm-hmm,
back and forth. She has been
mm-hmm,
later, 3 years later, my mom adopted from the Philippines and she adopted from the
mm-hmm.
Philippines at the same time. They have been best friends
Oh,
all of
wow.
these years from this experience. But she brought
Oh,
the two
wow.
babies home. It was a shock, but it would have been a shock if my mom had
Mm-hmm.
had a baby because I was the
Yeah.
baby for 10 years. I had never even dressed myself. I had never laid out my clothes. I had never done.
You were living
Yeah.
a great life. That, but
It
you had a brother,
Yes,
an older brother
I
though,
had a
right?
older
Okay.
brother that was 3 years older than I
Okay.
was. So that meant we had an
Mm-hmm.
older brother 3 years, and then that meant I had two 10 years younger than I was.
Wow.
And then 3 years later, we adopted another from the Philippines. It was
Mm-hmm.
nothing but positive. It was
Yeah.
absolutely, they feel no different. They feel no different
Mm-hmm.
than my biological brother. Um,
Yeah.
they, we are so close. Honestly, my sister is probably my best friend, other
Yeah.
than I'm
Yeah.
so super close to my family. Our family is
Yeah.
so close. Uh, but
Mm-hmm.
she is like one of my very
Mm.
closest friends. Um,
Yeah.
we are so close. We really are. I'm getting
Mm.
ready in just a few weeks to go on vacation with one of my brothers and his family. We are so
Mm.
close. It's never
Yeah.
there's I, I don't even we don't even think about the difference in
Yeah.
the two, whether it's the biological or whether it's the adopted. It never
Mm-hmm.
comes into play in
Yeah.
our family.
Yeah.
It never does. I've thought about so
Yeah.
many times, like when I've got older, thought about so many times, like in
Mm-hmm.
what is it? I think like Jeremiah 29:11, where it talks about, I know the thoughts that I have for you, and the
Mm.
expected
Yeah.
end. Their
Yeah.
expected end was no different than mine or my brother's.
Mm-hmm.
It was the exact
Yeah.
same. It did not matter
Yeah.
what blood they had. Their expected
Mm-hmm.
end was the exact same. And
Yeah.
the Lord knew what he was doing when he put them there.
Mm-hmm.
They were the
Yeah.
they were meant to be there just as much as
Mm-hmm.
the rest of us was.
Yeah.
Now, mom
Yeah.
did not go after Jeffrey. Mom and
Mm-hmm.
dad did not go after him. Someone brought him to the States. And then that was three
Mm.
years.
Your brother from
Yes,
the
he is.
Philippines?
So
Okay.
he's 13 years younger than I am.
Mm.
And we all live right here, close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
All the nieces and
Mm-hmm.
nephews. It's a
Yeah.
big to do. But you should see us. It's so funny because like you
Yeah.
see me and my kids, and we're the whitest people you've ever seen. And then you look over here, my sister is absolutely beautiful. She's got all this dark skin and her girls are that way.
Yeah.
And then you've got Jeffrey, he's Filipino and he very much looks Filipino, and his
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
And then Daniel, the other Brazilian, he is
Mm-hmm.
he is very fair skinned because
Mm-hmm.
Brazilians are very, they are very, because we actually went to Brazil with my
Yeah.
sister to meet her family. And
Wow.
yeah, she met, she came in contact with her family. And so me and Christian and her husband went with her to meet her biological family.
Wow.
But the Brazilians over
Wow.
there, they do not have, people are under the impression
Yeah.
that they're all dark skin, dark hair. It's not that way.
Yeah. Their skin color is
Very,
really diverse.
very
Yeah.
diverse.
Right. Just because of their backgrounds, we think of people here, our skin colors are all very different too. We would consider ourselves all American,
Brazilians are
and they're all
very,
Brazilian.
very,
They're all
very diverse.
Portuguese,
They
and
are.
they're all very diverse.
and
Yeah.
she is very dark skinned. But now, like my brother that we got from Brazil, he's very fair
Mm-hmm.
skinned. He's got very
Mm-hmm.
curly hair, but he's very fair skinned. They're as
Yeah.
different as night and day. Her and him
Yeah.
are, and
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
family is that way. The different ones.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
she has so many. I have
Mm-hmm.
some of them. You know, one of my brothers that's adopted, he doesn't know his family at all. She does
Yeah.
know her family. One of them just knows them
Mm-hmm.
online. It's all different
Yeah.
situations. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's such a God thing. The
Yeah.
adoption thing is such a God thing. But if you think about it,
Mm-hmm.
when the Lord talks about that we've received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father, He relates that
Yeah.
to us. So how
Mm-hmm.
spiritual is that? You know, so
Yeah.
it is such a spiritual thing. So
Yeah. It's
it
such a beautiful picture of
is.
God's love
It
for
is.
us.
And
And
then we bring it into our
yeah.
homes. It
Yeah.
is. If we pray and it is His will, it is such a beautiful thing.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I watch the
Yeah.
relationships, and it
Mm-hmm.
just touches my heart so much.
Yeah.
My daughter is so close, and she is to like my other nieces and nephews and things. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she is the older, of course, because I was older. She is the older, and she
Yeah.
she takes
Mm-hmm.
care of them, and in ways she bosses them around. We laugh. We say she can.
Of course,
Yes,
Kristen
she
does.
can make them do anything, and we laugh about that. But we just
I
watch.
know. I think she missed her calling. I feel like she should have been in sales. I feel like she'd been a great
She is
salesperson.
actually, now she's changed jobs, and she's a very good saleswoman. She really is.
I
She
bet
is.
she
You have to
is.
get her and let her tell you what she's doing. But
I
but
will.
she is, and they are all so close, and people just have no idea, that
Mm.
have never experienced it. That
Yeah.
how could blood play a part in that? It cannot. It
Yeah.
doesn't even come into
Right.
play with us. We think nothing of
Yeah.
it. We think absolutely
Yeah.
nothing of it. It
Mm.
is.
So when you went back to Brazil
Mm-hmm.
with your sister, um, was there ever a tinge of like she's my sister, or was there ever a worry of like a little bit of jealousy or a little bit of worry of like, but she's mine and she's theirs, or how did you deal with
It
all that emotion?
probably would have been if
Mm-hmm.
she, when we went, if I had felt like she was pulling toward that. But to her,
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of like with her, that she was like, this is nice, but she did not
Yeah.
feel that bond at all.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because you
Yeah.
guys that had such a strong bond. She wasn't looking
She
for
did
that somewhere
not
else.
have, she
Yeah.
felt that was nice, and
Mm-hmm.
like her biological mother was telling her, I'm sorry. I have
Mm.
uh, I have prayed for you every day, because she
Oh,
was gone,
Tammy.
and she would say,
Mm.
I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. And she would say, no, it's okay. My life is
Yeah.
wonderful. It's
Mm.
okay.
Mm.
She wasn't
Mm.
looking, she didn't go to Brazil looking because she was
Yeah.
missing something in her life. So it never made a
Mm-hmm.
difference, because we had
Yeah.
such good relationships. Apparently, she
Mm.
wasn't looking for something, because she took what she had here with her to meet them,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
That's
And it
right.
was so it
Yeah.
was so funny, because she has one sister that is my age, so she would have been
Mm-hmm.
10 years older than Rachel there. She remembers the
Yeah.
day that they took Rachel to the agency to give her up for adoption. She remembers that
Mm.
day, just like I remember the day that my mom went and got her,
Yeah.
because we're the same
Yeah.
age. She remembers that day, and she
Mm.
mourned because they took her and they gave her
Yeah.
up for adoption, just like I remember that day, because
Mm.
she's my
Yeah.
age. And
Yeah.
it was just
Mm.
completely, it was just so surreal.
Like the opposite
Yes,
feelings. Like you've got one feeling extreme sadness and then one
yes,
feeling extreme hope,
yes.
you know?
They were
And
very loving,
wow.
though, and they were very loving to
Yeah.
us. They were
Mm-hmm.
very loving to us, and still
Mm-hmm.
are. They keep in contact with her, and
Yeah.
they talk to us even now still.
Oh, that's awesome,
Yeah,
Tammy.
they really do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, I don't think it ever really bothered us because she didn't go looking for
Yeah,
anything. You know, she was
yeah.
she was very fulfilled here, so it never
Mm-hmm.
really bothered
Yeah.
us.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. So how did you guys or did you find ways to kind of connect your sisters and your brother's culture to here? Because East Tennessee, we don't have like a good Brazilian population, or we have a couple of Brazilian places now, but that's kind of new. But what did you do to try to connect them back to where they were from? Or how did when questions came up, how did you guys kind of talk through that and work through
I
that?
don't think they ever really had any major questions. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if they did, they always would look into it themselves. Um,
Yeah,
like they always pulled things from their culture into things that meant things to them.
yeah.
Like when my baby brother was married, um,
Mm-hmm.
they all wore, they could tell you what, I don't remember what the name of them was, but they all wore like the Filipino, whatever the shirts were. That's what they all wore from their
Oh, that's
culture.
awesome.
You know, they all
Yeah.
wore that.
Yeah.
And and then like there is different
Mm.
things that like Rachel will, and we also keep in touch with, which this is so cool. There is a missionary that has always been through Clear Springs,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
then we were in touch with him in Brazil, not knowing, and then we came to Clear Springs, and he was our interpreter in Clear Springs. I mean,
Oh, wow.
yeah, later when we came to Clear Springs, we had no idea. We had
Oh, wow.
absolutely no idea.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it is. So just
Wow.
little ways
Yeah.
and things that like Mama
Hmm.
brought back from Brazil and things like that,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but when
Yeah.
they got older,
Mm.
it seems like that they pulled more things that meant things to them, you know,
Yeah.
like they would look into
Hmm.
things that from their culture and things like
Yeah.
that.
That's
But it's so
awesome.
funny. It's so funny because when we go places, like the other day, um, Rachel was on the phone with her husband, and he was telling her, you know, go by the Spanish market because there was something in Jordan. He's a real good kid, and he
Hmm.
told her, he said, go by the Spanish market and pick up. And she said, you know, I don't like going there because they try to talk to me. And she is so country.
She doesn't speak
She's
Spanish.
so country. She said, you
Yeah.
know, they try to talk to me. I hate it.
She's like, I don't speak Spanish.
And
Oh my
When we were in
goodness.
Brazil,
Yes.
they would try to speak, you know, they would try to speak to her over there. And
Like Portuguese.
she
Yeah.
was like,
I don't,
you know, no,
I don't
no,
know.
can't do it.
Oh man, that must be
Yeah,
so
like
hard.
when
That
her
must be
and her
so
girls
hard.
open their mouth, they are so
Yeah.
country. It is so funny because they look so, yeah,
Yeah, they look
yeah, they
Brazilian. Yeah.
do.
Oh,
And yeah, they're so country.
that's
Yeah,
pretty cool. So if anyone is praying about adoption or thinking about adoption, they already have children, or maybe they're just looking at it saying like, this is a really big risk, you know? And when we think about adoption and we think about even this Instagram page, we think about the Bible in plain
yep,
sight, and we think about hospitality. And there's a book called "The Gospel Comes with a House Key," and it talks about the word she uses for it is radical
yeah.
hospitality. And when I think about radical hospitality and sharing the gospel, and I think about
Oh,
adoption, it's like they just go hand in
yeah,
hand.
completely.
But it's scary. And so if someone is kind of thinking about it, praying about it, or researching it, and they're not sure what to do, what would you tell
It's
them?
all in how you approach it. If you
Hmm.
approach it and you don't make a big deal about it, it's not a big deal. If you make it a positive,
Yeah.
here's the thing is if you make it a positive experience, it is a positive
Mm.
experience.
Yeah.
And you do have to consider it
Yeah.
a spiritual experience because here's the
Yeah.
fact is with my sister and my brothers, both of them,
Hmm.
they more than likely would have never known the Lord if they weren't
Yeah.
adopted. They
Mm.
they more than
Yeah.
likely would have never known the
Yeah.
Lord had they not been adopted because of their
Yeah.
culture. And so
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that is a big thing that you have to
Yeah.
consider. And a
Yeah.
lot of times with kids and with families, if you make it a big deal, it is a
Mm-hmm.
big deal,
Yeah.
but if you make it a
Yeah.
positive thing, that's what it
Mm-hmm.
is. And that's
Yeah.
how it was with us. It was a positive thing from
Mm-hmm.
the very beginning. And so that's how we
Yeah.
always thought that it was, you know?
Mm. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So you went from being the
Mhm.
youngest to being the middle
Yeah.
child,
Yeah.
kind of overnight from that 10 years of being the youngest. Um, do you feel like that just kind of flowed over time? That birth order just kind of fit naturally, where now your baby brother is the baby of the family. And over time, do you feel like you guys just
Yeah.
adjusted to that well? Was there any
I
growing pains
honestly do
there?
not remember there and when we say I was the baby. Really the baby. And I don't remember it being honestly being a problem. I
Hmm.
honestly do
Yeah.
not. And I think it
Mm.
was because of a lot of prayer
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
because it was God's will. And when
Mm.
it's God's will,
Yeah.
it works. You
Yeah.
know, when
Yeah.
when
Mm-hmm.
you've prepared the family for it, you pray about it,
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah.
it is. It works.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
and like you said, it's a beautiful thing. And you know it is a
Mm-hmm.
good thing when the Lord refers to it like he does. When he refers to
Yeah.
it in our relationship with him,
Mm-hmm.
you know that
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing. You know?
Yeah.
The spirit of adoption between
Absolutely.
him and us,
Mm-hmm.
then you know it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
Mm. That's awesome. Tammy, thank you so much for just sharing your
Thank
story and
you.
your family
Thank you so
story.
much.
Yes. And if anyone is watching and you would like to talk to Tammy about that, I'm sure she'd
I
be
would
happy to talk
be
to you
happy to. I would
about
love to.
adoption and families. Yes. And so feel free to reach out to her on Instagram, or if you want her cell phone number, I will ask her first and then I'll give it to you. I won't just give it out to
Thank you.
anybody. But Tammy, thank you so much. It was great to hear your story and hear about your family. And I've heard so much about your sister now between our trip and tonight. So I can't wait to maybe meet her one
Thank
day.
you. Love you, Carol. Thank you so
I love you
much.
too.
Bye.
I'll see you soon. Bye, Christian. I know you're on here watching.
Bye.
See ya.